Hello and welcome, everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the new releases for Netflix for February the 1st. So I'm just going to be essentially going over the list of all those new releases. So welcome to the channel. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy our content. We have a lot of things happening on Patreon. We have some projects of our own that we're producing. You might actually see some of our shows on Netflix by about fall of this year. And if you're on Patreon with us, then we'll be inviting some of you to some of these parties. And also, if you're an artist, we might invite you to engage in some of our projects. So we have a lot of exciting things happening. But let's get into what's new on Netflix for February 1st, 2020. So this is my reaction to their lineup. I haven't seen it yet. This is a first look for me. So again, Netflix, February 1st, 2020. Let's see what's new. All right. And essentially, and this is for the United States market. I apologize. I don't really have the bandwidth to cover all the markets with everything that I've got going on. So yeah, let's get into it. The Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously a classic horror film. It's aged. I think it's kind of aged a little poorly. But the Freddy Krueger. I don't want to take anything away from the development of that kind of freakish, fiendish character. It's pretty impressive in that regard. So I think that this IMDb score is very accurate, 5.2 out of 10. If you're having your Super Bowl party and you had a little bit to drink, it might be something fun for you and your friends to laugh at. A Little Princess, I have no idea. That's a good Rotten Tomatoes score though, so that'd probably be really good for your kids. So yeah, G-rated film there for your kids. And then as we go down here, Back to the Future 3. This one, I really enjoyed this one. I mean, the love story is a little cheesy. The dynamics between Doc and Marty is always great. And Biff the villain is probably one of the better Biff villains that they've had in this trilogy. So it's most definitely worth a watch. If nothing else, you might turn it on again, have a few drinks. If you're the type that drinks, if you're not, maybe get some caffeine and fast forward through the boring parts. Just get through to the meat of it. That's what's great about Netflix is you can skip to those scenes. Ali, featuring a performance by Will Smith, Jamie Foxx, John Voight, Mario Van Peebles. You couldn't really ask for a stronger cast to tell the story of Muhammad Ali. I have a great deal of respect for him as a sports icon, as a champion, as a man. I think Muhammad Ali, a lot of what he stood for and the way he stood up for things is what taught me how to be a man. I mean, obviously I had a lot of influences, but this is one of them. Just the story of someone who essentially lost his livelihood and just got taken out of the system. He was taken off the grid and had to fight his way back. And all he was doing is saying, I don't want to go to the Vietnam War, for religious reasons. Anyways, it's a great story. Michael Mann is a fantastic director. So yeah, take your time, enjoy this one. It's the type of film that you want to watch if you're looking for more serious fare, because it's, there's heartbreak and aside from the fighting, it's just a really great story about an American icon. I would say that Muhammad Ali, Martin Luther King Jr., I might get into trouble saying this a little bit in the comments here, but that's fine. Martin Luther King Jr. and Muhammad Ali are probably some of the most renowned characters in terms of changing the shape of our culture. So any films that depict their stories in a really strong way, I'm usually a big fan. And when what I mean by that is comparing Muhammad Ali and Martin Luther King Jr. to some of the things that Nelson Mandela had done. Now, Nelson Mandela is on a whole nother level, but Martin Luther King Jr. and Muhammad Ali are definitely up there. I just if you watch the story, at least for me personally, you know, Martin Luther King may be at the highest level for you, and then that's totally fine. But for me, Nelson Mandela, if you know his story very well and what he went through, um, he leaves a lot to be admired. I mean, there's just the man is incredible. What he went through, the way that he handled it. Um, anyways, so yeah, I got off on a little bit of a tangent there. Blade Runner, The Final Cut. This is a good film. It's an enjoyable film. It's aged well. Ridley Scott did a really great job with his films early on. And I remember watching his films, you know, when I was growing up in the 80s. And he, you know, they were ahead of their time. And that's why they've aged so well. That's why you can actually watch these films today and have them still stand up. So that is, I think that's the trademark of a legendary type of filmmaker. Batman Begins, the first film in the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy, definitely worth a watch. Not quite at the level of The Dark Knight, or The Dark Knight Rises. I know some people didn't like the Dark Knight Rises. Definitely the Dark Knight is iconic. But this is important. Batman Begins is a very important film because it's where everything started. So by no means is it a bad film, but if you've seen The Dark Knight, or some of these more modern films like you know, The Avengers, Infinity War, this one maybe hasn't aged as well from a storytelling perspective. That said, though, I mean, it's still a Christopher Nolan film. Christopher Nolan is an incredible director. This movie score is accurate, but for me personally, it just doesn't have the gravitas that the other two films have. And again, that might just be me because I like the Dark Knight Rises very much, and some people really didn't appreciate that one and the twists that they had in it. But definitely worth a watch at least one time. And Chronically Metropolitan. I'm not familiar with this one. Let's go ahead and read. Let's read the description here. Case of a writer's block ensures a novelist to return home to New York City, reconnect with his engaged ex and his bohemian parents. Okay. I'd have to watch that on some night that I'm feeling super artistic and I have some extra time. I doubt that's going to happen. And with that score, probably not for me. But hey, you know, check it out. If you find out you like it, let me know. Go ahead and comment. Tell me it was good. Booty Call. I have not seen this one, and based on these cinema scores, I probably am not going to. And I'm not saying that critics tell me, you know, what to do and how to live my life. I you know, all of us have such limited time. And again, this is from 1997. I'm not a big fan of 90s movies. There are some great ones like Pulp Fiction, and that's more, you know, that's kind of my jam is those next level type of films that you had seen, and True Lies and things like that were really strong. But anyway, Booty Call, it just might be one of those, you know, you're waiting for the Super Bowl, you have a few drinks, go ahead and enjoy it, or caffeine if you're not a drinker. Class Act, with Kid and Play, 6.1. It's not a bad score. I saw some of the trailers for this. Mistaken Identity comedy. Yeah, so this might be light action fare, maybe something even for your teenagers to watch. Cookie's Fortune. I'm not familiar with this. 1999. Cookie Orcutt, cornerstone of her southern home, dies and leaves a huge fortune to her two greedy, estranged nieces. They angle for the estate. That could be interesting. I mean, 86% Rotten Tomatoes, 6.8. Yeah, this is something I would watch. Cookie's Fortune. Interesting. And then who do we got? Glenn Close, Julianne Moore, Liv Tyler, Chris O'Donnell. Looks like a little bit of diversity in there. But again, 1999 level of diversity. Okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, it probably is a really good film. I mean, these actors are great performers. Robert Altman was a strong director, so Cookie's Fortune, I'll definitely check that out. Dance flick, let's see, 2009, Damian Wayans. Interesting. 18% Rotten Tomatoes. No, thank you. Not for me. Again, maybe just a film to have in the background while you're having fun with your friends. There's a purpose for every film. I mean, for me, a movie like that would basically be like, the log fire, the Netflix log fire that you put in the background, which is, that's totally fine. Dear John, while on leave, let's see, 2010, while on leave, a U.S. soldier falls for a Southern college student. But when he must reenlist, their handwritten letters hold the lovers together. I don't know. Let's see, Channing Tatum. I haven't really heard of this one. 29% score. I would be skipping that, and I would probably more likely watch Dance Flick than something like that. And I don't know. I mean, love stories can be way too cheesy sometimes. They can be good. Dirty Harry, good film, very good film, but old school. I mean, it's aged. It's not aged extremely well. You can see young Clint Eastwood if you're up for the nostalgia of that, and 91% Rotten Tomatoes score. It's got some iconic visions in it. It's about a tough cop that plays by his own rules. It was one of those first films that did that. But one thing that you might do with this is start watching it, just kind of fast forward to the good parts, because honestly, there's these movies from the 1970s. They had a lot of drag. They really didn't get up and going very quickly. So just fast forward to the dessert. Driving Miss Daisy, 1989. This one, this one kind of sticks in my craw. I really like Morgan Freeman, but I don't like the premise of this film. It's just, I don't know. It hits me the wrong way, and I think you had The Color Purple. The Color Purple was really iconic right around this time. I don't know if it preceded this or came after, but always you're going to have kind of copycats that are targeting award season. And if memory serves, Driving Miss Daisy was up against something else for Best Picture that was a much better film. I'm not taking away from the performances in this, but it's very cringeworthy. It hasn't aged well. I admire Morgan Freeman for giving it a shot. I don't know how he feels about it lately, but if you want to watch something like this, watch Green Book. Green Book came out what was it, last year, 2 years ago. Green Book is one of the best films of the 2010 decade, in my opinion. I actually just rewatched that the other night on Showtime, and it was outstanding. I mean, I love every moment of it, every nuance. Viggo Mortensen is fantastic, and the other actor, his name slips my mind at this moment. He's a huge rising star, though. He's getting really popular. So yeah, in my opinion, Driving Miss Daisy, I would skip it. Elizabeth is. These two are strong, but you can see the Rotten Tomatoes score is pretty accurate here. I mean, if you like period films, films from a certain time period, then you'll probably enjoy these. But it's you just have to be in a certain mood, or at least me. I really have to be in a certain mood to watch something like this. And again, these would both be films that I would fast forward through to get to the iconic parts, because I just really don't want to watch all the build up and the posturing and all that. It just gets tedious for me. So anyways, to each their own. It seems like Elizabeth is much stronger from a score and a critical standpoint, but who knows? Anyways, so, and as a matter of fact, I remember when I watched these films, I actually did fast forward to certain parts. I could not go through it at speed. Hancock, it's a great premise. It's not aged well. If you were going to watch Hancock, I'd probably recommend watching The Boys on Amazon. The Boys on Amazon, that came out last year. I just did a review of that. It's a TV series. I think it's 8 episodes, eight or 10 episodes, somewhere in there. Fantastic, and it's been renewed for a second season. So my recommendation would be skip Hancock and just watch The Boys instead. You're going to get a lot more out of it. And Will Smith tries. Will Smith is very good. He's got great charisma. This film probably would have been like a 19% without Will Smith, but a great actor can only do so much. I have no idea what that even says. Ham Apki Hain Kun. Okay. This this has got a good score. It looks like a love story. I have no idea. 1994. It wouldn't be my jam. I just don't like movies from the 90s. I'd rather watch pretty much any other decade of movies than the 90s. Just seemed like a time when America fell in love with itself, fell in love with the smell of its own ass for a while. And sorry for the crudeness, but that's the only way I can really describe it. I don't really like a lot of movies from the 90s, but maybe this one was good. Maybe this one was enjoyable. It's really long though. Oh, and it's in Hindi. I mean, it's an Indian film. All right. Yeah. So if you're trying to expand your horizons, let me take a step back. I don't want to prejudge this. If you want to expand your horizons, you want to get more into world cinema, then definitely, yeah, watch this. See what the Indian people have been doing. They can have some really charming stories. I just watched a foreign language film called Parasite, and it takes place, I believe it's in South Korea, and it's with English subtitles. So these can be hidden gems. I apologize. I wasn't, I got a little judgmental when I saw that it was in the 1990s. Okay. Is it wrong to try to pick up girls in a dungeon? Okay. Anime. Don't know anything about that genre, but there you go. That one's coming out. Justice, 2017. Didn't hear anything about this. Western. It's really hard to get a good Western. Low critic score. I would be skipping that. Love Jacked, 2016. No critic score. Interesting. Comedy. To assert her independence from her rigid father's expectation, a headstrong woman hires a desperate Los Angeles man to pose as her fiancé in Africa. Oh, wow. That could be cringeworthy. You could possibly do it the right way. I'm not really seeing a way that you could. But okay. Sure. Major League 2. Major League 2 was pretty funny. I actually enjoyed Major League 2 more than Major League. Ironically, such a low Rotten Tomatoes score. Although I will caution you, the time that I watched this film, I went and saw it with a buddy when I was about 13 years old. So if I saw it today, it might be very cringe for me. This could be just the nostalgia talking. So word of caution on that one. Again, these 90s movies, for me especially, are not the magic sauce. Miraculous Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. Sure. Yeah, that's okay. Season 5, so that's for kids, obviously. Great. I'm glad they're making more for kids, and then obviously that's a good critic score. Misfit 2, I have no idea. No critic score. Let's see, 2019, when her boyfriend abruptly transfers schools, a gifted musician must prep with an arch rival to battle him in a student music competition. See, do we recognize anybody? It's Dutch. Oh, okay. So we have Dutch, French. Cool. That's great. Yeah. Again, if you want to expand your horizons, start looking at more world cinema. Again, that was the problem. That was my problem with the 1990s, is that America was very ethnocentristic in the way that we looked at things. So yeah, try to look at things that are coming from other countries, and they're developing. They may be a little bit behind Hollywood, or some of them are far ahead. I mean, like the film Parasite from South Korea. They're ahead of us. I'd say they're about 10 years ahead of us in their entertainment. Um, Japanese, No Game, No Life. Okay, anime. For those of you that love anime, it's a pretty good score there. Open season. See 2006. Yeah, it doesn't. It didn't get great scores after saving a deer from a hunter's clutches. A domesticated grizzly finds himself relocated to the wild and unprepared for the real world. Now, this is something I'd probably watch. I'd have a few drinks and I'd watch it with family at a party. Again, just a background noise type of film. Police Academy 2. These were good. These are our classics. Police Academy. Oh, yeah, definitely the original Police Academy. The jokes still hold up. It's kind of funny that it got such a low score on Rotten Tomatoes. This is campy in a way that how could I explain this? It's a 1984 comedy. 1980s comedy. Comedy has evolved a lot, and comedy is not one of those things, in my opinion, that ages well. So a lot of the jokes still land, but quite a few of the jokes are not funny anymore. Some of the jokes also are not really appropriate for the modern era. And I'm not a crazy woke person or extreme woke person. I like to be open-minded. But yeah, there's things that you'll probably cringe watching that. So I would say watch the first one. If that's your jam, then you'll like all the others. And again, it could just be background noise, but it's neither here nor there for me. I could go without those, without ever seeing them ever again, honestly. But they have a few laughs. Actually, it is a great film to fast forward through if you want to just fast forward through to the funny parts. That's typically my strategy, or maybe I'd find a YouTube video with the highlights with the funniest parts and just cut out the middleman. Pop Team Epic, Japanese, animated. Okay, great. Fantastic. I don't know much about animation. That's not really my jam. Purple Rain, my sister loved this when it came out. Kind of an iconic film. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I like this. It's gotten hit by critics. It's melodramatic. It's nostalgia, but it can be enjoyable. Scary Movie 2, fairly funny, kind of cringeworthy. Early 2000s comedies weren't the best, so it can be enjoyable. It has its moments, but another one that you might want to fast forward through. Sergio, I'm not familiar with this one. Sex and the City 2, Skip, Shopkins, The Dark Knight, fantastic, highly recommended. The Car, Road to Revenge, I have no idea. Doesn't look like it got a very good score. Dirty Dozen, that one's classic. Again, if you're into the nostalgia, The Notebook, it's kind of mixed reviews. If you like love stories, it's probably really good for you. The Pianist, war epic, kind of like Schindler's List. The other guys, comedy, one of the better comedies as I remember. So yeah, that's all the new releases for Netflix. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you very soon on our next video. Thanks again for joining us.